Hey, Dr. Mike here. Are you protecting yourself in the summer sun? Stay tuned as we share hot tips on staying cool.
You're listening to Live Foreverish, a show dedicated to helping you live just a little longer. Here's your hosts, Dr. Mike and Dr. Crystal Gossard.
All right, welcome to Live Foreverish. Dr. Crystal,
Yes.
it's hot outside.
Ooh, I know.
I mean, extremely hot.
And I thought Florida was hot. I was just in Georgia. It was hotter.
Yeah.
More humid.
Yeah.
So it's hot everywhere.
It's crazy. A couple weeks ago, it was hotter in the Midwest than it was in Florida.
That's pretty wild.
And here's what's crazy about a lot of those people in the Midwest out towards the Pacific West, they don't have AC.
Can you believe it? Well, it's the same with Florida, where people, they don't have heating systems. So when we have those cold fronts, then now they're cold.
Wait. Our cold fronts are not near the heat extreme. They're
Maybe not a good comparison.
That was not a good comparison. Good try. I appreciate it. So today we wanted to talk about, staying cool in that excessive heat. And it's not, listen, we have a lot of fun on this show, but it can be serious.
Oh, really? Yes.
Yeah.
And especially heat stroke, which we'll talk about that. But that's an emergency situation.
I wanted to talk. So we did a Facebook Live on this. So you should go check that out at lifeextension.com/Facebook. And we showed some graphs.
Yeah.
Did you have, I don't have them here, but basically so these graphs we're looking at the frequency, right, of extreme heat and how long it's lasting,
right,
and the intensity of it. And at the end of the day, what have we learned over the past couple of decades?
We've learned that the heat wave season has increased by more than 49 days since the 1960s for many U.S. cities, and that is according to the latest national climate assessment by the U.S. Global Change Research Program. And what that means is that your heat waves are longer, so 1 to 2 days versus now 8 or 9 days
several
of a
days.
heat wave, several days. So it's not giving individuals a time to cool off and recover. And so that constant exposure then puts you at risk for a heat-related illness.
Even more so, again, for some of those places where they don't have inside AC.
Their bodies aren't even
Adapted.
able. Yeah, it's not adapted. That's what I was going to say, acclimated, but adapted works
same
too.
thing. Yeah, I'm fine with it. It's the same thing. Although it's funny because you mentioned this before. I've been in South Florida now 15, 16 years. It's hot. I'm not used to it. It's just hot. We're blessed because most of the time it's beautiful in South Florida. But you get July, August, September, even into October. It is hot.
Yes,
it is hot. But now we're experiencing that all over the place. We don't have the graphs. Again, if you go check out that live, basically it was interesting when you look at the graphs from the 1960s to today. There's a clear trend up in everything that we measure about heat.
Right. Now, the question is why, Dr. Mike? And we do know that a part of it is climate change. A part of it is, in these big cities, these industrialized cities, we have these big high buildings, all of that concrete, that's making it hotter as well. Yeah. So it's just the worst case scenario is what's happening.
Less green, more steel and concrete, and it's just, and then you add a bunch of other things into the mix. It's just hot.
Yeah,
it's just hot. All right, so one of the heat-related illnesses I wanted to talk about is something called heat exhaustion. This is quite common in extreme heat for people. Tell us a little bit about what that is. And then we can talk about some of the symptoms and prevention.
Right. So heat exhaustion is when the body has lost water, lost salt. You've probably have already experienced some cramping, which most people know what that feels like.
Right.
That cramping that can occur. And then this is kind of that next level after heat-associated cramps. Now you're having some nausea, some dizziness, and some heavy sweating, and that's your body telling you, hey, you need to go take a chill pill,
take a break. Right?
Yes.
Yeah, and I think that's key, cramping. That I think that's kind of a good take-home message. If you're doing something outside and it's hot, and you know it's hot, and you start to cramp. It could be calves, legs, whatever that is. If you start that's a warning sign.
Yes, for me, and you have to know your body. For me, I get dizzy.
Yeah, and so when
I start feeling a
and,
little.
and what do you so then that's the time to act.
Yes.
Right? Don't say, "Oh, I'm a little dizzy, but I'm going to keep pushing forward," right? Because then that can turn into other symptoms, and then ultimately, right, from the cramps to the heat exhaustion, it could get real serious, and that's called heat stroke, which is a 911 emergency.
Yes, I mean at this point your body temperature is so high, you're starting to cook your organs.
Yeah, it's in a sense you do, like kidneys fail, liver fail, and with unlike heat exhaustion, with heat stroke, there are long-term consequences.
Yeah, in some research you see 1-2 years later that people have lasting consequences as a result of that heat stroke.
Yeah. Yeah, well, the good news is if you recognize the warning signs of heat exhaustion, right?
Right.
And we have some tips, I think, what to do, but the good news is if you take it easy, right? Slow it down, get into a cool place, get some water. In an hour or so you'll feel better. Right.
And I think also look out for those individuals. If you know someone in your neighborhood, there's someone who's elderly, check on them, make sure they're okay. Because this is more of I think what we want is just more of an awareness that people, unfortunately, are dying from this. So there are lots of governmental agencies, the EPA, even OSHA, because you have the workers that are working outdoors and just making sure employers know that people need to be protected from this extreme heat.
Who's at risk ultimately? And I'm setting you up a little bit with this, but who's at risk for heat exhaustion, heat stroke? What's the risk factor?
Younger children, of course. We have to protect our babies and older individuals. And I think a part of the older individuals being higher at risk, twofold. One is their body's normal response. We typically have nitric oxide vasodilation that occurs kind of at the level of the skin to help the body respond, produce the sweat. So as you get older, you're less likely to have that response. And two, the older you get, you probably are on more of the medications that can
make it worse.
Susceptible.
Yeah, beta blockers, diuretics, stuff
exactly.
Like that. Yeah, and another good point too. Especially if you have neighbors, right, that are in that higher age group. Just because they're not outside, especially if you're in those areas where there's no AC units,
right?
You should check on them.
Absolutely, and I think that's such an important point, Dr. Mike, because that's what we are finding is that the older people are being found in their homes. Yeah. Suffering from heat stroke, or maybe they just passed away because it's just so hot.
No one even knew it. And no one even knew about it, right? Athletes, who are exercising outdoors, people with heart disease, poor circulation, obesity. We mentioned some of the medications like beta blockers, diuretics, antidepressants. All of those things can precipitate some heat-related illness. Now, of course, so who's at risk? Children under 4. People over 65, but in extreme heat, everybody's at risk.
And I have to say that. Who else is at risk? You're on vacation or it's the weekend and you got your drinks.
Got my drinks going out
Maybe
in the heat.
Your drinks with a little bit of energy drink with caffeine. So now you're mixing alcohol and the caffeine and you're in the sun and you're not hydrating with water.
Yeah.
You're at risk.
You're going to ruin your vacation.
Yes.
At the end of the day. So what if I do this? Okay, so I am. Hey, listen, it's the weekend. Well, it's close to the weekend.
Almost.
Well, we post these on Monday, so it's not.
That's true.
So I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna have a couple beers. I'm gonna go play some golf. I'm gonna be out in the hot sun. So how about if I just drink a bunch of water right before I go?
No. So, okay.
Yes
let
and
me
no.
clarify
it's
that.
Yes and no, right?
Water is good always, but you don't want to overdo it with the water. And the goal is to be hydrated stay hydrated, meaning don't wait until right before you're going to play golf to try to chug water.
Yeah.
You want to make sure throughout the week you're adequately hydrating your body, and then make sure your water is like maybe a mineral water.
Right, because you want some of the sodium in there, the potassium, because you're not just, sweat isn't just losing H2O.
Exactly. And that's why you're dealing with those cramps sometimes, is because your body has lost that sodium. So a mineral water, hey, that's the time for those electrolyte drinks. People drink, some people drink them all the time.
But
no,
that's not, no. You don't
save them
Yeah.
for when you're actually outdoors, when you're actually sweating, is when you would need to consume those drinks.
I told you when I was in high school playing football, 2 per days in August in Houston.
In Texas.
They used to give us
My
water
goodness.
and salt tablets. Remember I told you that? Yeah.
You told me that, Dr.
I
Mike.
don't think they do that. I think now it's just Gatorade. But
They're not suggesting Gatorade, Powerade,
Yeah, no, we
all
had
of those aids
we had
can be helpful.
Little salt tablets. So cramping, you start developing. That's your warning sign. That could develop if it's heat exhaustion into dizziness, more cramping, heavy sweating, stuff like that. Take action at that point. If it goes on, you could lose consciousness. Sweating actually stops, and that's the emergency. That's the heat stroke. But I just wanted to remind the audience of that. But now looking back at heat exhaustion, which is where lots of people fall into, how long should it take to recover? Right?
About an hour.
Right.
And that's an important thing to keep in mind, because if you're not feeling well after an hour, 2 at the most, then you need to call 911 or get some type of
call your doctor
first
at least.
aid.
Let somebody know, right? So a couple hours, you're still not feeling well. That's not good. Let's talk about preventing all of this, right? What's a good way to prevent heat-related illnesses? Again, specifically, really the heat exhaustion. Give us I think we have a nice list, right? Let's go down a nice little list of how to prevent.
Okay, so reduce your exposure time to the heat and plan your activities in the morning or in the evenings. Dawn or dusk.
Right. Makes sense. Totally makes sense, right? Yeah.
Right. So if you're new to an area in a hotter climate, spend shorter amount of times outdoors initially. Gradually increase your outdoor time. Don't wear dark colors.
I see that.
The blacks, the navy blue.
People jog in this extreme heat. I guess because they're trying to sweat.
They want to sweat.
They're trying to lose whatever that is. Maybe do that in the fall and winter. I'm not in the extreme heat.
Yes, the lighter colors obviously are going to be better. They reflect off that UV light. Be aware of the medications that you're taking. Talk to your doctor. Talk to your pharmacist to find out if maybe there could be some contraindications related to those medications.
And if there are, that goes back to planning your day better, right? Like get early morning, evening is when you want to be out. Yeah.
Yep.
And then, of course, we say stay hydrated throughout your week. Watch alcohol and energy drinks, right? And keep in mind that people who are ill or obese are at greater risk of heat injuries. Okay, so there's some preventive tips for you. What have we learned on the nutritional side of all this?
Yeah, a couple of surprising aha nutrients. Folate.
Aha moments.
Aha moments. Folate.
Aha nutritional moments. That sounds like a show.
I like that.
Aha nutritional moments by Dr. Gossard.
So folate can be helpful. Interesting study using supplementing with 5 milligrams of folic acid for 6 weeks. Improved the body's ability to respond, kind of that vasodilation, that nitric oxide that we talked about earlier. That can be helpful as more of an intervention. To help the body to adapt. Glutamine can be helpful. That is helping to support some of those protective proteins that can protect your cell, those heat shock proteins. Carbohydrates, just making sure you're eating a nice balanced diet.
Yeah.
is important.
Because you're getting your basic minerals there and stuff, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So the potassium foods, the foods with magnesium, those electrolyte rich foods are important. Those are your green leafy vegetables, of course. So from a nutritional perspective, those would be some things that you would consider if you're getting ready to go on vacation. Hey, add in some folate. Add in a little extra folate.
Yeah, and you want to do that ahead of time. It's like staying hydrated throughout your week, add some extra folate throughout your week, and then you're a little bit more prepared for the extreme heat. Great information. We just, at the end of the day, we want people to be aware. I mean, everybody knows it's hot, but yet you still see so many people doing the same activity at the same time that they do in the winter. I mean, we see that in Florida a lot, right?
I know.
Yeah. And it's like, we're Floridians. We can take the heat.
know.
I'm going to put on that black spandex and go jog 3 miles at noon. I mean, that's just, come on. We got to be a little bit smarter than that, right?
That's true.
Yeah. Dr. Gossard, thanks for joining me today. Don't forget, you can go to liveforeverish.com where we have tons of other podcasts for you to download, like, share, comment, and subscribe so you never miss a show. As a matter of fact, if you go to liveforeverish.com, the first thing you should do is give your email address.
Yep.
That way you kind of join the Live Foreverish family, and then you can decide, wherever you listen to your podcast on, right? What do they call them? The aggregates. Whatever channel, like that makes me say, whatever channel you listen to, you can click right there. So you can join our family, subscribe on your aggregate right at liveforeverish.com. I'm Dr. Mike. Thanks for listening.